Well, hello, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the music, enjoying your Friday morning. It is Dattitude. It is episode number 185. Larry Holder from The Athletic is here with me. I'm Jim Derry, and we're going to talk about Saints Bears. And you see the question up there. How will the Saints handle being the largest favorite they have been in the Dennis Allen era? 8.5-point favorites coming into this weekend. Larry, what is going on? You're back from Shreveport. You made it. I'm shocked. You made it all the way back from Shreveport.
Yeah, look, I feel like enough people know that I play a lot of tennis, and it's a long drive to finish with the bronze. So,
oh man,
that's not, especially when there's only 3 teams and you finish with the bronze. That's even worse. Like, you make the podium just because they got to fill a spot at the podium.
Yeah, there's only one winner, my friend. It's only one winner. And you come home with bronze. That's not acceptable, man.
Well, those winners have to go spend money and play more tennis, and you don't win anything. You just keep paying. You don't
just keep paying. Well, then they want you to come back.
We're not high enough to where we get like prize money. No. That's not us.
All right. Well, we're going to talk Bears, Saints this morning. We're also going to talk about the 3 biggest games in the NFL. Larry covers the NFL for The Athletic, no longer just Saints beat writer. He covers the NFL, and we're going to talk about 3 huge games. I think it may be the biggest weekend of football in the NFL. And at the end, I'm going to force Larry to make a prediction on something he doesn't cover anymore, and that's LSU-Alabama. We're going to touch on it at the end. So there's your heads up warning. We'll be on for about a half an hour this morning, maybe a tinge longer. If you want to leave your comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, just type them in. They will show up, and we will show them on the screen here. I challenge you. I mean, a few weeks ago, we had Abu Dhabi, Arabi, and somewhere else. I mean, we had Australia. Yeah, Abu Dhabi, Australia, and Arabi. So I challenge people from all across the land to comment in the comment section. We'll talk about it this morning. Okay, Larry, what do you see in this game? Obviously, Saints, a game they should win. And, this time of year, I like to talk about rankings. And if you add the numbers up, offense, defensive ranking, like for the Saints in this case, it would be 17. For the Bears, it would be, going to make me use my Shaw math, 42, which is the Saints are significantly better, maybe doubly better than the Bears. Hence, you have an 8.5-point spread. I just don't trust it.
Why?
Because of the Saints. the roller coaster ride that we've watched.
Yeah, look, I get why you wouldn't trust it, just because this team is not proven they're good enough to assume a win. Like, they're getting there. I feel like this is a team, in terms of the Bears, undrafted rookie quarterback making his 3rd start. This environment is going to be a much tougher road environment than the ones he's had to deal with so far. And I do feel like Saints fan will probably go into this game pretty excited, and they will be kind of energized because I think they're starting to see maybe something is going with this team. And so I think the elements of crowd noise and just kind of the buzz in there is going to be a little bit more difficult for Tyson Bagent to deal with than maybe what he's had to deal with in the past. So, but still, if this offense reverts back to what we saw in week 7 for 3.5 quarters, or before the Patriots game, then you keep the Bears in it, and then fluky things could happen. And so, I feel like that for us to actually, like, say the next game, like when they play Minnesota, say if they beat up on the Bears, you and me probably come in the following, next Friday and thinking, okay, well, this is a game that we think the Saints could win and feel pretty good about because they're taking care of business. Like, they need to consistently take care of business against teams they should be able to do that.
Here's the problem, and I hate to sound like some of the fans that have commented in the past and the ones on social media, but how do you trust a coaching staff that has not even been able to put together a 3-game winning streak? I mean, they haven't shown consistently 25 games in now. They haven't shown that they can put more than 2 good games together. So I mean, I don't even know if this counts. They played the second half of Jacksonville well. They played all of last week well. So what are they going to play? A half well and then go into the tank in the second half? I don't know what to expect as far as consistency.
Yeah, and that's been the major problem, like you just alluded to, for the past season and a half. I mean, that's at least I feel like, look, a point of contention that you and me have talked about a lot is that I feel like the offensive line has calmed down.
Yeah, much better.
And that has allowed Derek Carr to look better, say, in the last
100%.
5 quarters. It's allowed a run game to exist. And you look, you and me got into a heated, just like fun heated argument about Taysom Hill. And obviously they rode that train a ton against Indy. I'm not against if it works, don't run away from it. Like if you can consistently do it, but I don't force it if it's not there. And so if the Saints can keep that going with Taysom, you're probably going to see more of it. And it's something that you put in Kamara, you put in Jamal Williams. That run game, you could look at the rankings on the bottom of the screen under your face. It's gotten better. Like there, that number has actually grown recently. So you need that to kind of balance it out and not have it all on the defense's shoulders. But the Saints are scoring points, and it allows the defense to at least, if they slip a little, the offense could maybe pick them up when the offense wasn't performing well enough. The defense couldn't do it every single time.
What's interesting about this week is the number below your face is the total defense 23rd, but the Bears are number 3 against the run, which is really interesting considering that teams probably want to run a little bit more against the Bears because they're usually ahead. So usually when you see team, you kind of ignore a pass defense that's great for teams that are terrible because teams don't have to pass a lot, and vice versa. When a team is really good, you might ignore a little bit the other way because teams are having to pass. But in the case of here, the Bears have been pretty good up front. I'm very interested to see. Look, do you use Taysom as much? I've said this before. I know you and you joked about us having quote unquote heated talks about this, but when you outsmart yourself, that's when you end up hosing yourself. Don't try to get cute. Taysom Hill, it's a fact. You go and look, the more Taysom Hill is involved in this Saints offense, the better they are. No matter who the quarterback is, no matter who's playing offensive line, it doesn't make a difference. And Taysom Hill last week, I thought was involved as much as any game this season.
Well, you have to be in position to use him. Like, don't use him on second and 10. Like, I don't like that.
Yep,
like if you were in optimal positions to run the football, and because let's see, he lucked out by Rashid Shaheed winning a challenge, basically.
Right.
Even though they didn't challenge it. I mean, I would have to me, I would have just stuck with the call in the field. But I feel like they got very fortunate there. It doesn't matter. Make it predictable and make them stop it. But use him in situations that even though make them stop you. Like, like you said, don't get too cute. If you're going to be a power run team with him, just do it in situations that it calls for, like red zone, like goal line. Like, I'm good with that, but don't do it, like you're saying, on 2nd and 9 just to do to
do it. Right. And if you go back to the Sean Payton era, and you know this as well as anyone, when was Sean Payton, when were the Saints at their best under Sean Payton? When they just did it, they told you what we're doing. Drew Brees is going to throw the ball. He may throw a screen pass. The Saints were the best screen passing team for a decade, and they didn't care if you knew that they were going to do it. It worked. When were they unsuccessful? When Sean Payton had these gadget plays that he was going to force in the games no matter what, and you knew what they were. You knew you were going to get at least 2 or 3 of these plays. Oh, wait, I haven't used play number 3. It's got to get in there. And then the double reverse to Devery, and he's tackled for an 8-yard loss. I mean, so who cares if you're predictable? Like you say, if it works, just do it. And I'm not just talking about Taysom. Do the things that you find work early in a game. The Saints were successful at that last week, I thought. They quote unquote, dumbed down the playbook. They cut half the playbook out, and it worked. So do it again. I'm not saying use exactly the same plays that you used last week, but find what works early and go back to it.
Well, you mentioned when they were at their best under Sean Payton offensively, what did they do? It's actually being a team that runs the football. I mean, with that, the 7-9 era stopped
Yeah,
in
for sure.
2017 once they were able to run the football, and I feel like they're at a point where Kamara's starting to get his feet back under him. You feel like the last couple of years they've been having to overload Kamara and the run game too much. Like, even though they're throwing the ball to him a ton,
Yep.
it's different than having to, hey man, run through the tackles. Like that, you don't want him to do that 250 times a year. You have someone that it's working with Taysom Hill. You have someone that is used to that and has been successful, even though we're not seeing a ton of success from Jamal Williams, but he's there and capable of doing it. And the offensive line is making it a little bit more possible for them to do that. And, that wasn't there. Obviously, Kamara wasn't there for the first 3 games.
Sure.
And then it took a minute for that to get rolling. And then you were without Jamal Williams. And so the fact that didn't exist really put a hamper on you and put probably too much on Derek Carr's shoulders. And he's not the guy he's not Drew Brees. He can't carry you somewhere regularly. So the fact that you're seeing a mixture of things that work there, that's why you're seeing more consistently in the last, let's say, 2 games in 1 quarter. I'm only giving them credit for 1 quarter, probably a half of a quarter.
Oh, it's more than that. No, they were good the whole 4th quarter against Jacksonville. Is that
all
what
right?
you're talking
1
about?
quarter, fine. 1 quarter.
All right. Well, I think it's interesting. Also, the Saints are 2-3 with Kamara in there. It's easily you think about it. He missed the first 3 games because of suspension, so they are 2-3, 1-3 going into last week. And I think it's kind of, I don't want to say the opposite, but I think sometimes you can lean on Kamara a little bit too much and use him as a crutch almost. And we saw when the Saints tried to force him the ball 31 times a couple weeks ago. It just doesn't work. You can't force feed Kamara. They have to, unlike Taysom Hill, where it doesn't matter if they know it's coming, they can't stop it. They can stop Kamara if they know it's coming. I think you need to make it so where they're just not sure if Kamara is going to get the ball or not. That's when he's at his most effective. And they haven't been able to they haven't been very good at that. That's where Pete Carmichael, I think, needs to improve. But I agree with you about the offensive line. They've been much better, and it opens things up for a lot of people, not just Kamara, not just for Taysom Hill. Obviously, Derek Carr, if he can get another second to throw the ball, it makes him that much more effective.
And you're talking with Rashid Shaheed, obviously. If you can hit on a home run play every game, even just one. I mean, that opens things up.
Yeah.
And then you need some consistency from Chris Olave. He certainly had his fair share of boggles on and off the field the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's a whole different story.
And Michael Thomas, I know he was under the weather, but when you get him some trust in him, and that's, you add it all up, and then Juwan Johnson's back. Like, you actually you're getting to the point finally where you at least have the pieces that you hoped for from the start. You knew you weren't going to have them from the start. Now you're a couple weeks in and you're getting them, and now you're starting to see some things click a little, and you're going to have some favorable schedules the next couple of weeks leading into a bye week. And so, yeah, you're like, that's the thing. I feel like I wasn't super sold after New England with the offense. I feel like I'm starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with them. But now here's the thing. If they totally stink against the Bears, then you're back at square one being like, I don't know what these clowns are doing.
Well, to my point of, I think how Houdats are feeling, and they're either like super sky high, or this. I mean, you and I are both lifelong New Orleanians, born and raised there, and whatever. I mean, we know how the fan thinks, and here's a case of it. I mean, it's a perfect example. They'll blow it. I mean, that's kind of what you're thinking. I mean, and in my prediction for this week, and we'll get into it in a little bit, it's hard to believe in this team again because what you say, 5 quarters, 6 quarters, whatever you want to call it. I mean, they played a full game. They played a full game against New England, but that score was completely misleading because everything changed after the pick 6 in the New England game. But if you look at these rankings and you were hibernating and you don't know what the Saints record is, and you just woke up and you looked at these rankings, you're like, okay. Well, Derek Carr's doing really good. The running game is just okay. total defense, they've just, they're doing okay. They ought to be what, 5-3, 6-2? No, they're 4-4 because they can't put anything together. Kind of what I talked about consistency wise. This team is underachieving like one I haven't seen in quite a while.
They have some other teams in the NFL who underachieve worse. I could tell you that. So, but yeah, this is a team. But you're saying they're underachieving. What did you think their final record would be this year?
I went in and I went back and forth on this, and I finally came up with 11-6 and posed it with the caveat of it wouldn't surprise me one iota if they went 7-10 or 8-9, and especially because of the media's all of a sudden they were loving them again right before the season started, and everyone was predicting them to go over the projected total of 9-8. Now, of course, Garland, Gillen, and Juan Kincaid point out that we said 9-8, so we technically weren't over, but everyone was going gaga again, and as soon as that happened, I'm like, there's no way they're going 11-6, but I'd already predicted it. So, but again, with the caveat of with this coaching staff, and I'm not trying to bash Dennis Allen because I think his underlings are way worse than him. Okay. I think there's no consistency among the entire staff. And I go from top to bottom everywhere. 7-10 wouldn't surprise. If 7-10 wouldn't surprise me right now.
7-10 would surprise me now. I would say that.
I mean, that's
3-6
the rest of the way.
I think that's feasible. I feel like they're an improving team. I do. I just feel like you're starting to see the offense is giving me a little bit more of, all right, this team can actually put points on the board. And let me tell you what was irking me after the game. Dennis Allen's like lauding yardage. I'm like, no, I don't want to hear about yardage, period. That could be like the most empty stat in the history of football. The yardage doesn't put up 1 point unless you get in the end zone or kick it through the uprights. Like if you don't score, doesn't matter. You can have 5,000 yards in a game. If you're falling short of the goal line, doesn't matter. But still, yeah, I feel like for me, even going into the season, I said the ceiling was 10 wins. And,
I think the ceiling is 10 wins right now.
I think the ceiling is 10 wins. And so this to me, even though they're 4-4, I mean, I thought they would be up and down a little bit until they kind of figured some things out. And so,
but you look at this schedule, Larry. I mean, this team has no business being 4-4. They really don't. I mean, you look at the teams they played and the teams. Okay, you want to lose to Jacksonville. You think Jacksonville's better than them. Fine. But I mean, some of these teams they lost, they have no business losing to Tampa Bay. They're not. Tampa Bay is not good. I mean, I know they're 3-4, whatever, but they're
falling.
Not,
Tampa's falling.
They're not any good. I mean, they had no business losing to Green Bay. They play Green Bay 10 times. They're going to win 8 of them. I mean, and that's not even talking about the fact they had a 17-0 lead. I mean, we keep forgetting about that. This team just is kind of floundering around, and I'm trying not to blame the coaching staff in particular Dennis Allen, because he pisses me off in his post-game press conference with half the time everything's rosy sunshine when it's not. But I mean, I'm trying not to blame Dennis Allen, but some of the calls they make on offense until last week just are mind-boggling.
Well, maybe they're starting to get it together. Like,
maybe.
Look, I'm sounding like glass half full guy.
I know, man. That's not who you are. We got a question out there, and it's an interesting one because I was trying to transition into the offensive line because we got to talk about the defense before we talk about the NFL Week 9, and we're getting to the 20-minute mark. So here's the question: does Pete, when James Hurst comes back, does Pete remain at left tackle and put Hurst at left guard, or do they put Pete at left guard and Hurst at left tackle? I think you kind of have to put Hurst at left tackle, right? I mean, Pete's natural position is guard.
That's what I would do because, last week, so what? The Colts defense, they're like Swiss cheese. It doesn't matter. Josh Allen was toasting Pete. Like, you can't have that.
Exactly.
Like I would like the Bears just got Montez Sweat.
Right.
I don't feel super comfortable. I don't care. Like, he's going in and he's being a pass rusher. He doesn't have to know a game plan. He's going to play.
100%.
And then they have Yannick Ngakoue. He's still a viable pass rusher. Like Pete, I don't care if you were a mediocre pass rusher, I would be worried with Pete at left tackle. No, you move him inside. Like, I would be shocked if they didn't.
I will say this though, and I know people like to rag on Andrus Pete. but I think he's played as good as he could possibly play, considering he's playing out of position and he's playing left tackle, which to me is the second most important position on the field, coming off of an injury and just kind of being stuck there because the Saints didn't have any choice. And I think that he's done as well as he possibly could have done over the past 2 weeks.
I would agree. I mean, he's easily and rightfully been a punching bag for years, but no,
sure.
look, because he could mail it in. He's made tons of money, and he's played for long enough. He's like, I don't need to be dealing with this stuff. But no,
100%.
I will say kudos to him for being adaptable and being able to do that this late in his career, because you're set in your ways.
Yeah.
I know he's been flexible when he was earlier in his career, but no, this kudos. Like, obviously, you don't want him there full time. And your plan that you had, I mean, this is left tackle number 3. This is not the plan you want to have. So I would agree though that he's got to move back to guard. Like, and if you're not playing Penning, you got to have Hurst play that left tackle.
I would think that everyone involved wants him to move back to guard, including Andrews Pete. I mean, so I think the coaching staff wants him to go back to guard. I think he wants to go back to guard. I think the Saints are better served that he goes back to guard. James Hurst is a kind of a jack of all trades on the offensive line. He's better suited to play left tackle anyway. Also, we saw, I think, for the first time in maybe a year and a half, I don't know how in depth you got with it. I know you usually go pretty in depth looking at the film. I thought Ryan Ramczyk played his best game since maybe Drew Brees was here.
Yeah, he's gotten better. Like, he had one rough game earlier this year, but I do feel like he's kind of like flattened out the last couple of years, but so did the whole team. So I do feel like though that he's playing better. I'm not saying he's like all pro Ryan Ramczyk that we had seen at right tackle. I mean, because there are a lot of good right tackles these days in the NFL, and people value that a lot more. It was always left tackle. People are valuing right tackle
100%.
a lot more than they used to, because pass rushes move around. And if look, if Micah Parsons goes to the other side and you got some bum playing right tackle, your quarterback's toast. So you got to be able to protect everywhere. So, but no,
luckily the Saints don't play the Cowboys this year, so I don't have to worry about that. All right, we again, I want to move on just a second. Lastly, on the offense, I want to get your impressions of Derek Carr. Now, we talk about the offensive line; they go hand in hand. But the fact that he, after they had the kumbaya moment and like, we don't yell at people. It's not nice to yell at our colleagues. Let me get the hell out of it. They've never obviously worked on a desk, on a copy desk, on deadline. I mean,
same
people yell
thing.
at people.
Copy desk on deadline, sitting in a pocket waiting for masses of humanity to crush your hopes.
Exactly. That's way worse. So I have zero problem with a quarterback yelling at his receiver to run the damn route the way it's supposed to be run. But that's a whole different story. But anyway, after everybody's played nice and got their feelings out, and that's where we are in 2023. It's all about our feelings, even in football, I guess. I thought Derek Carr was on point with his receivers last week. I don't think Chris Olave particularly played that great, but I thought the other receivers did a really nice job. Michael Thomas was coming off of an illness, and I still thought he gave it his all. I liked what I saw from Derek Carr and his receiving corps last week.
I agree, and yet I'm going to throw a disclaimer. If you can't score a lot of points against the Colts, you're not very good. I mean, the previous 3 games, Saints, and then the 2 other weeks, they've given up 38 points a game. That's legit, literally, like 39, 37, 38. The average is 38. So you better be able to play well against them. And look, the Bears, you better be able to throw against them. Like I said, I know they brought in Montez Sweat, and that is a curious trade nonetheless. That's a different topic, but that is a very curious.
Very.
If you don't re-sign him, you look like absolute moron buffoons. Montez Sweat should ask for the largest contract in the history of the sport, because if he walks, then they're total idiots.
Yeah.
But still, you should be able to throw the football against the Bears, and let's see if they can do that. So that. New England, they were tough, rough defensively. You got to score against them. And even though they've kind of stabilized a little bit, but still, same thing with Indy, same thing with the Bears. Like, you should be able to do this. Like, these are the teams you should be able to do it against. So if they don't do it this week, it's a problem. Like, it should be status quo that they do it this week. But if they don't, then it's just kind of, like you said, just meandering.
Well,
we'll see.
We'll see, because I think that, people keep bashing on Derek Carr even after he had a good week. They kind of quieted down a little bit, but they just can't wait to come out of their rabbit holes and talk bad about Derek Carr. Oh, my numbers are plummeting again. They don't want to hear me talking about Derek Carr. They just don't want to hear it. But if he has another good, the dude's thrown for almost 1,000 yards in 3 weeks. I really don't know what else people want. Drew Brees is gone. He's never coming back. People need to get over themselves, but it is what it is.
Don't tell me yards. Tell me points.
Okay, well, he scored 38 points last week, but they're supposed to. The Colts suck.
Right.
Okay. So, in other words, he can do no right. If he does what he's supposed to do.
Well, I'm not ripping him. I'm just saying. Yeah.
No, I know, but you can represent the common fan for 2 minutes if you want. All right.
It's been a minute since I've done that.
Yeah. All right. The defense worries me as we move on, and I do want to talk about the defense because we've kind of given them a pass. And even though they're ranked 5th, they certainly haven't played like a 5th ranked defense. When I was doing this chart here at the bottom, this number has significantly changed as far as unit rankings, and the run defense has not been good. And I was kind of surprised last week. You want to talk about coaching? People can talk bad about Dennis Allen all they want. I thought Shane Steichen went away from the run really early in that game, and I thought was a very poor choice. You got Jonathan Taylor, use him. And I thought that the Colts coaching, I thought the Saints coaching staff way outcoached the Colts coaching staff last week.
The run is a problem again, and we thought that has calmed down. But you brought up Jonathan Taylor. They should stick with Zach
Moss. Yeah,
they should really stick with him. And look, Taylor got a contract. Now you got to use him. Moss is going to be a free agent. Of any of the running backs, look, they've got some big name free agent running backs that are good, because you got all the guys who are franchise tag plus Derrick Henry. Of the 2 free agents that are going to be running backs that probably should receive more attention than you think. One of them is Zach Moss. The other one's DeAndre Swift with the Eagles. And both are playing well. Like, that's the thing. And even it's hilarious that Jim Irsay publicly said we paid Jonathan Taylor too early. He's right. You paid him too early, because Zach Moss is doing just as well or better than Jonathan Taylor. So the fact that they went away from that, I think you're right. That was a bad coaching thing, and the Saints were fortunate there. But yeah, the Saints, they could not let big runs like that happen. Especially against teams you should beat, like the Bears. I'm trying to even think, their running backs.
Well, right now, Deontay Foreman
they don't have Justin Fields.
Deontay Foreman is their best running back, but Matt Eberflus isn't using him. I don't understand it. He's clearly their best running back, but yet they keep going to Roschon Johnson, who's getting like 3 yards a carry, and they keep using this guy. I don't understand it at all. They forced him in when Deontay Foreman was in there last week against the Chargers. He was effective, but yet they kept forcing Roschon Johnson in the game. Just goes to show, you want to talk about inept coaches? There are so many bad coaches in the NFL right now, and Matt Eberflus is clearly one of them. And I get that he's a defensive-minded coach, but the Bears' offensive coaching staff is way worse than the Saints, and that's saying something.
Jim, maybe it's coincidence that this week the running backs coach has stepped down, fired, whatever.
Well, he's had off the field.
Just happened. Right. But also the defensive coordinator, same thing. So obviously the head coach has had some judgment issues with some of the people he's hired, which probably leans into, he probably has some judgment issues with the way he's coaching. And just remember, a couple weeks ago, Justin Fields threw them under the bus and then had to come back and do like another presser in the locker room and say, oh, no, I didn't mean that. Yeah, right. Things are not great.
Well, I said Deontay Foreman's clearly is their best running back. Really, Justin Fields might clearly be their best running back.
Oh, for sure.
So, but I didn't bring that up, and he's not playing this week anyway. So it is what it is. But this defense has got to find a way, because I really think if you have any common sense whatsoever, they're going to find a way to use Foreman, and Foreman's already shown he can run against the Saints defense. He's a former Carolina Panther. He's a former Atlanta Falcon, I believe. So this guy can run the football. He's a former Tennessee Titan. He ran against the Saints. Guy can run the football. They have to use him. Whether they figure out that they should use him or not, I don't know. But they're ranked 6th in the NFL in offense, and it's not just Justin Fields.
This is a team you have to dare them to throw, like make
Absolutely.
them throw. I mean, you have Tyler Badgett. Come on. And you have one receiver who probably threatens you, and you've known him for a bunch of years, and that's DJ Moore. And he's going to be the guy they try to get the ball to. You have Cole Kmet at tight end, maybe. But look, dare them.
Tulane's Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, he's kind of slipped a little bit,
Yeah.
but before DJ Moore, he was their top guy last year. So, but still, like but it's all comes down to if you can make Tyler Badgett uncomfortable, then you're good. So your secondary should be one of your strengths of your team. Lean on them. So they could be one-on-one coverage and make them stop the run and make them throw.
We're going to finish the show with our Saints predictions. So if you want to hear what we think, I think you can usually judge. I think you know where I lean, and if you read my NFL picks column, you know where I stand on the Saints-Bears game. But we're going to finish the show with that. Maybe not so clear on Larry in this one. I don't know. I think he thinks the Saints are going to win, but we'll figure it out after. I want to talk about the NFL very quickly. Again, I really think this is one of the biggest weekends in recent memory, really, when you talk about marquee matchups. And you could literally sit in front of your TV for 14 hours? Starts with Dolphins Chiefs at 8:30 in the morning in Frankfurt, Saints Bears at noon, Eagles Cowboys at 3:25, and then we finish it off at night with Bills and Bengals. Your thoughts on you're going to have a busy weekend. You have a busy Sunday for sure.
No doubt. And it's certainly Europe is going to be fortunate to see two of the best teams go at it. And, I feel like, though, the of those three matchups that you brought up, I'm going to be most intrigued by Buffalo at Cincinnati.
As me as well.
Because I think Cincinnati, this is where it starts. And they are the trajectory is going up. I feel like it kind of started like this around this time last year, and they got it together, maybe the last couple of years. And then they got it together, and it starts clicking. And I feel like we're back to that point for the Bengals. And Burrow's healthy. Joe Mixon's getting going. That defense is playing better than what it has, even though they didn't play terrible a lot of the year. I mean, the offense was the problem primarily. But, yeah, I feel like this is a time where I'm picking Cincinnati every week. I think that they're starting to really kind of get the momentum at the right time, and they're going to ride this thing into the playoffs.
And here's why I like Buffalo. Because no, I'm not kidding. I mean, I think that most people feel the way that you feel. They were just waiting for the light to click on with the Bengals. And now, okay, there it is. Bengals beat the hell out of the 49. And from a betting perspective, I mean, a lot of people are thinking that. And a lot of bettors are actually thinking that. A lot of people who make money off of betting football, this is what they think. However, people just dismiss the Buffalo Bills. And I know that they haven't played very well. Maybe they are the ones that are waiting to just click that light on. Maybe they're the ones that are going to go to Cincinnati and say, and after this week is over, people are going to say, oh, Buffalo's back. Are they really back? The thing is, I think Josh Allen plays his best when he's in a game like this. He's easily less motivated against teams like we saw them lose to Jacksonville a couple years ago when Jacksonville was terrible. We see them lose games out of the blue when they shouldn't have no business losing. We saw them play terrible against the Giants. We saw them play underwhelming against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week on a Thursday night. I just think that coming into this game with a little extra rest and motivation to say, you know what, if we are going to get a home playoff game in Buffalo in January and we want people to come to our place, then they got to win this game. And I think also that people aren't talking enough about the DeMar Hamlin effect and the fact that he's going to be on the sideline, whether in uniform or not. He's going to be on the sideline, and I think people are going to remember, hey, this is where it happened. I think Buffalo is going to come out strong. I think they're going to win this game outright.
I just don't trust Buffalo defensively. I
Yeah,
think
I hear you.
ever since London, when they lost Matt Milano, they also lost Daquan Jones. They also lost Tre'Davious White. They had to make a trade for Rasul Douglas,
Yeah,
which that's a good trade. Like
that is
the
a
fact
very
that
good
they
trade
were
for
able
them.
to pry him away, that he's been very good and he's going to help. But
And Von Miller looks like he's 40 years old, so I get that.
right. So he's not, and they also have Leonard Floyd. Like they have some aging pass rushers who, like, if you had all of your pieces, you'd be in good shape. But they don't have. They're missing people on each level of the defense, and it's gotten tougher for them. So look, I just think that I haven't seen Buffalo turn it on and go any further than what they've gotten. So I don't know if they have that. Like I feel like the Bengals have that. Like we've seen them get to an AFC.
They had
title
it for
game. We've
one
seen them
game,
get to a
though.
Super Bowl.
They had it for one game last week. Before last week, they were nothing special. I mean, yeah,
but
they
I've
were.
seen it in previous years. Like
I've seen it from Buffalo in previous years.
Well, I've seen
though.
it from Buffalo, and I've seen them fall flat on their face. Like in when Cincinnati, when they got to the Super Bowl, I mean, they barely lost. They got to the AFC Championship game against Kansas City. They barely lost. Like the Buffalo can't even get to that point. Like they gag against teams.
Well, they gag in the postseason. I don't necessarily think they gag so much in the regular season. Not against marquee teams. And I've put Cincinnati up there with the marquee team. Besides the fact that, people, I know Joe Burrow had a great week, but he still ranks behind Derek Carr in quarterback rating. And in the second half of the rating. So we can say, make excuses for him all we want. But the fact is that he is 18th in quarterback rating right now. The 18th. That's not good for
overall in my metrics I do every week. Where it's season long and, we're hitting the mid-season point. I mean, it's hurt Joe Burrow because he's been so rough the whole season, but like he's barely cracking. He's finally got out of like the bottom quadrant of quarterbacks.
True.
But you can make up for that. But yeah, like I agree with you that look, Joe Burrow, it's for this season, it's one game, but for me, he didn't certainly get hurt or anything. Like that's the Joe Burrow I expect. And so I feel like he's past the injury. Like, and I feel like that's he's done it enough for me to be like, all right, now it's going just like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, outside of the botched tush push last week, he was awesome. And I feel like Jalen Hurts is starting to kind of get his feet under him too. So like the quarterbacks who I expect to be great or very good are starting to do that now, and particularly with Hurts and particularly with Burrow.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I look, the cardinal sin when you're talking about it from a betting perspective is to put too much weight on one game. And I think that in general, I think not only the media, but certainly Aunt Mabel and drunk Joe Q public betting on this game is all they're gonna see in their heads is Joe Burrow and what they did against San Francisco last week. Very impressive, but it's the same as when Dallas got their asses kicked by San Francisco, a month or so ago. They've been pretty good ever since then. So, which leads us into that game. We'll see. So go figure. Larry and I are different sides in the Buffalo-Cincinnati game. We'll see where we are here in the Cowboys-Eagles game. Again, the Cowboys have been pretty darn good. I said before the season, I thought the Cowboys were going to be the best team in this division. I think they're going to win the NFC North. East, excuse me. I still feel that way. They've got to win this game, though, in my opinion, to be able to do that later on, because they are behind the Eagles right now. They've got to beat the Eagles. They've been fairly successful against them. One game they won last year was with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. I get that, but I like the Eagles. I mean, I like the Cowboys. I don't know if they're going to win outright, but I certainly like the Cowboys +3 in this game. I think it's going to be one of the best games of the year.
My previous answer just alluded to where I'm heading, and I follow the hot quarterback play. And now, granted, Dak Prescott had a great game last week, but struggled the week before. But no, I feel like that the Eagles, I think they're starting to kind of get their footing now. And one thing I'm going to look to, Jalen Carter up the middle, pass rush. He is one of the best pass pressure players in the NFL, and he's barely been in the NFL. And so, and the Cowboys center, he's been a little leaky. Yeah. So I feel like in some situations you could get heat up the middle on Prescott and force him into some some bad spots. No, I'm like I just alluded to. I'm riding Joe Burrow's train. I'm riding Jalen Hurts' train. So I
There
think
are worse trains you could ride, my friend. I mean, seriously, I think the world of Jalen Hurts. I really do. And I think that he is a top 5 quarterback in this league. And I agree with you that he's been playing better. The tush push that was fumbled last week aside, that play really is 95%. You really might as well go for it on your own 20 if it's 4th and 1. But I really think overall, people can call me crazy. They do all the time. I think overall, I think the Cowboys are a better team. And this line is telling us that these two teams are about as even can be. Maybe the Eagles are a smidge ahead because home field doesn't mean what it used to mean. It's no longer 3 points anymore. It's more like 1.5 to 2. But you're telling me on a neutral field that Philly's only 1 point better than the Cowboys. So the odds makers think that these two teams are super close. I just think that 3 points is too much to give. I'm gonna take the 3, but I hear you. You're taking the Eagles. I guess -3. You're taking the Eagles -3.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're on different sides. Let's see if we can be on different sides for all 3 of these marquee matchups. Dolphins and Chiefs on Sunday morning. Here's what I'm thinking. Look, you want to talk about quarterbacks. Everybody loves Tua Tagovailoa. He's plus 330 to win the MVP. You know who's also plus 330? Patrick Mahomes. And people are, again, bettors, the casual bettor loves to look at last week. How'd the Chiefs lose to the Broncos? They stink. They don't stink. Patrick Mahomes was sick. And the Chiefs were due for a letdown anyway. Going to, I don't care if they play this game in Frankfurt, Germany, and Nova Scotia, or, Gretna, Louisiana. The Chiefs are by far the better team in this rivalry here, if you want to call it that. And Andy Reid 6-1 against the Dolphins. He's not going to lose to Mike McDaniel.
I picked the Chiefs, so you're good there. But I do feel of these 3, that's the shakiest pick for me, is the Chiefs for this, just because I do feel like Miami is going to be a little bit better defensively. I mean, they got Jalen Ramsey back. That's a big plus.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey, you're already playing pretty well. Here's the thing. Miami is not beating good teams. Any of the good teams they've played, they've lost.
Right.
So that's something that they've got to have to try to shake. And their run game is kind of fallen off a little bit. Shane got hurt. That was a big loss. And
Mostert's coming back. So
Mostert's a little banged up, but it hasn't been as good. So it's been throw. Obviously it's worked, but still. I am taking Kansas City, and I'll take the -2. I'll take head straight up and against the spread. I'm saying Kansas City, but I think that's the shakiest of my 3 picks among these 3 games.
I find it interesting that we're on the same side, but you say that's the shakiest. That's actually my best bet of the week, and I'm talking about across the entire NFL. That is my best bet of the week, and for any other reason, I'm taking Andy Reid over Mike McDaniel, and the fact that the Dolphins haven't beat anybody worth snot. I mean, I think the Dolphins would struggle against the Saints. I mean, I really do. So, I mean, sure, you can beat up on the Broncos and the Jets and whoever else you play that stinks, and the Patriots, and they didn't even really beat up on the Patriots per se. I need to see them beat a really good team before I believe in the Dolphins, and I don't. So anyway,
no, that's viable. I agree. Like they're the hot team. People are talking about them. They're explosive. A lot of highlight reels. Tyreek Hill, all of that. But yeah, they need to beat a good team for
Tyreek,
for like you and me to get on board.
Tyreek against the Chiefs. I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm going to actually wake up for that.
L'Jarius Sneed, man, don't sleep on him.
Yeah.
If there's anybody who can keep up with him, Sneed, oh my gosh, I would love to be his agent this offseason. He is easily, because I was going to put him and Rashawn Gary as like my top 2 outside of any kind of quarterback, like those 2 top free agent studs. Sneed's going to get so much money this offseason.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, that game. The good thing, this is a great weekend to get an extra hour of sleep, because I'm looking forward to that for sure. All right, it's that time of the show where we make our final predictions. Before we pick the Saints game, I'm going to put you on the spot. LSU, Alabama this weekend. LSU is a 3-point dog at the moment. I think it'll be 3.5 by game time. Lots of reasons to like either team. Alabama's got the huge motivation factor that they lost to LSU last year. besides that, they're trying to get in the SEC championship game. They probably need to win this game to get there. What do you got?
Similar refrain. I'm going quarterback. Who's the better one? Jaden Daniels. So I'm going to go LSU. I'm taking them straight up. So I think that I don't care about the motivating factor. So what? I don't. That doesn't mean anything to me because I think LSU Daniels has done it before, and this is not going to intimidate him. And so, and look, if you go, actually, our draft guru Dane Brugler has his top 50 latest one that just came out this past week. He's got Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas in the top 25 of overall prospects, and saying like Thomas could even be a better prospect by the end than Neighbors just because he's a bigger guy. So, man, good luck trying to stop that. So I think it's going to be a shootout just because I don't trust LSU's defense a ton. Which why would you be? I mean, they've been kind of raked over the coals a little bit. But look, I'm going quarterback play. Daniels has done it already before. He's poised. I'm taking LSU straight up.
This Alabama defense is not the same Alabama defense that we are used to seeing. I think I agree with Larry and everything that he just said. Doesn't happen very often. It's happening right here. And
it's the first time today.
I also agree. I'll go further than saying that Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in this game. I think Jaden Daniels, and I'm being completely upfront and honest, I think Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in college football. And I think he deserves the Heisman Trophy. If he wins this game, he's going to be the favorite, and I think he has an excellent chance to win it.
I think that's fair. Is he the top prospect? No.
Right.
Jaden Daniels, I think he's in the 40s, I will say. I think he's like QB 4, I think. But actually, our number one quarterback is Drake May.
And I think there's good reason why. Caleb Williams has slipped off quite a bit, I think. And so we'll see what happens there. I think someone's going to get a steal with Jaden Daniels when he goes in the NFL. I really do. I think he could be a lot like, and I've said this multiple times, if anyone's listening to the show, I think he could be a lot like Jalen Hurts. He needs to build up his strength. He can't be this skinny guy going into the NFL, and he's already built up some meat on those bones. I would be willing to bet he's probably 15 pounds heavier than he was when he got to LSU, but he's become such a dynamic passer. I think he can pass the ball as well as anyone in college football right now, and the fact that he adds the running element is a nice little added twist. I mean, it could be like, dare I say, I don't want it to sound the wrong way to some people, but I think he could be a little bit like Will Levis.
Well, look, Will Levis looked pretty good last night.
He sure did.
Yeah, so I don't think you're going to see Tannehill play another down.
I agree
with the Titans, and he's prime for free agency. But I feel like people might look at Jaden Daniels in terms of draft stock similar to like Hendon Hooker, like second round guy. But I think Daniels comes in way more experienced. I think Daniels is a way better prospect than Hendon.
And knock on wood, without an ACL injury.
Right. So the quarterbacks like he's looking at is like Quinn Ewers, like of Texas, JJ McCarthy. Some of those guys are the ones he's going to have to kind of jostle because it's going to be May and Caleb Williams. But like if he keeps playing well, like he could be a first round pick if he keeps playing well. And he's like, I feel like he's his stock is moving up, and the way he plays, like it's similar to kind of what in terms of stylistically, like Hurts. Like Hurts was super prolific toward the end of his career throwing the football and can move, and I think that they're very similar in those aspects.
If he wins the Heisman Trophy, I do think that he'll bounce up into the first round. This is going to be a fascinating draft, and I know we often say that, but I think this quarterback draft may be the best that we've seen. I don't want to say ever because there've been some really good quarterback drafts, but it's up there. It's going to be. You're going
to have a lot of guys taken. Because there's such a need.
Yeah.
Teams that even have quarterbacks are like, no, we're moving on. And then you just have people with question marks, aging guys they don't totally trust. It's you're not saying untruths. I'll just tell you that.
The same. I think Jaden Daniels would look pretty good in black and gold. And the fact that he could sit behind a Derek Carr for a year or two and learn from a Derek Carr, from a 10-year, 11-year veteran, I think would be a fantastic situation for the Saints. I know people are thinking Jake Haener is going to be a quarterback. I don't, but we'll see. Anyway, I think that could possibly happen. We're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll talk about that later on. We got plenty of time to talk about that many months before the NFL draft. And hey, the Saints are one of the favorites to win the NFC South along with the Falcons. Now plus 110. That has dropped from plus 140 to plus 110 in a week. The bettors think the Saints are going to win the NFC South. I think the Saints are going to win the NFC South only because I think the other three teams stink. We'll see how that goes. It's time to predict. Are the Saints going to take that next step? This is a game, Larry, they have to win. If you're going to even talk about being realistic NFC South champion, you got to beat the Bears. They've only won 2 out of their last 17 games. You have to beat the Bears.
I'm taking Saints. I'm taking them 31-17. So I think this is the light bulbs on. Momentum's going to start. I'm not going to say that they're going to win every game the rest of the year, but they're going to start winning the games that they need to win, and they're going to catch some momentum. So I feel like Saints are going to win. Offense is going to play well. They're going to do the things that, the keys to win, like, against a team like this. I think they're going to check each box. So I think I just think that they're going to win double digits, couple touchdowns. It might be bigger than what I might be giving the Bears too much credit offensively. So, but I'll go 31-17 Saints.
I am expecting complete and utter frustration on Sunday. I think the Saints find a way to win.
How different are we, man? Jeez.
Look, well, I'm predicting them to win. I don't think they're going to lose, although it wouldn't shock me if they lost. I got to be honest. This team has been riding a roller coaster, and anyone who expects this roller coaster ride to change anytime soon, you're crazy. I mean, you could call it like riding a Ferris wheel. And right now you're at the top, so you can't get off. I mean, it's one of those things where you just start going down and you're like, I don't know if I want to get off this time around or if I want to go one more time around. You're not sure. I think that's what you are with the Saints team. I think that Derek Carr will have another good game. I think the offense will play well. I'm just not sure about this defense. And I know Tyler Badgett is only in his 3rd game. I don't trust this defense, and it's weird to say. But I don't anyone who is going to be surprised by a loss hasn't been watching this team at all. I will say Saints 30, Bears 23, which means that the Saints don't cover, and it's going to come down to the end there with the Bears having a chance to tie it, and they don't. That's my prediction. The Saints defense will rise up when they absolutely have to at the end. But I think that's what we're coming down to. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right.
And man,
I hope you're right.
You think Tyler Badgett can orchestrate 23 points in the Superdome?
I think the Saints defense can orchestrate allowing him to come up with 23 points. Maybe they'll get a fumble, not a pick six, or a scoop and score. Maybe
Badgett isn't playing like Schippenberg.
Maybe they'll get some weird touchdown.
They're not playing Loyola, all right?
I get it. I understand. It's the Saints. You're putting way too much stock into the Saints. I'm just saying. I do think they'll win. But and then next week, we're going to have to talk about them playing against Josh Dobbs at Minnesota. It'll be Josh Dobbs' first start. He's not playing this week, but that'll be.
I will say, I get what they did in Minnesota. But my gosh, Josh Dobbs has fallen off a cliff with Arizona. Like, he was good for a couple of games, and last 3 weeks, off a cliff.
I don't disagree. And you know what? Both the Falcons and Saints, who are tied for the easiest schedule maybe in the history of schedules, are both catching a break because the Falcons get the Vikings this week and the Saints get them next week. So, I mean, you couldn't be playing the Vikings at a better time of the year than right now.
Well, I'm getting back on. I haven't really left the Falcons, but Taylor Heineke's better than Desmond Ridder.
He's better than Desmond Ridder. They don't have a defense worth of crap. The Falcons,
at least they have a capable.
The Falcons gave up 4 touchdown passes to Will Levis in his first NFL start. You know how many 4 touchdown pass games he had in the SEC? That would be
probably 0.
0. 0. But the Falcons let him do it. I don't know. Maybe you're right. You're often right, and I'm often wrong, but that's okay. We'll see. We'll do it again. You don't have a tennis tournament next week, do you?
No tournaments for.
You're back.
Yeah, you'll have me probably, I would assume, the rest of the way.
All right, everybody's excited about it. I know I am. Speaking of getting excited, as soon as I'm done here, I will go add my monologue to this. Hey, we went a little bit longer than I thought, but I thought we had a lot of great stuff here. A lot of good predictions, even though Larry and I are on different sides of.
Well, the NFL slate gave us more to talk about because it's been kind of a sleeper the last few weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
It's given us a lot more to talk about this week.
See you next week, my friend.
You got it.
When I'm finished here, I will add my monologue. And hey, search wherever you search your podcast for Dattitude, and you can hear me just ramble off about who knows what. And we'll finish with our song of the day. I have a good one today, by the way. I already have this one planned. So come along, find Dattitude wherever you find your podcast, around noon or so. And we will talk to you on Monday for Derry's Dime, next week here with Larry Holder on these same Bat channels. Talk to you later on. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy LSU-Bama. Enjoy Saints-Bears. We'll talk to you next week.